Yep.
Alright guys, so we are going to go on to something new today. And this whole chapter, we've been talking about right triangles. So everything that we've done so far, sine, cosine, tangent, Pythagorean theorem, 30, 60, 90 triangles, 45, 45, 90 triangles, angles of elevation, angles of depression, all of that is with a right triangle. Today what we're gonna do is learn what do you do if you have a triangle that's not right. We're gonna spend one day on it, on one section today, and then the section we do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is harder. So we're gonna spend 3 days on that, and then we have 2 practice tests for this chapter. And you're gonna have a test on everything we've learned from Pythagorean theorem to sine, cosine, tangent, angles of elevation, angles of depression, and then as well as what we're doing this week, okay? So, first of all today, the very first thing that we're gonna learn is how do you find the area of a triangle that is not a right triangle? And these are called oblique triangles. If you have a triangle that does not have a right angle, it's called an oblique triangle. And one of the ways that you can find the area of this.
Do you have notes for us?
Yeah, sorry. Sorry. All right, so we'll try this again. What we are going to do next is learn how do we find the area of a triangle that does not have a right angle, okay? And if you notice here, there's 3 different versions of this formula. And what it depends is what sides you're given and what angle you're given. So here's the deal. If you are given angle C, like in this formula right here, if you're given angle C, the 2 sides that you would have to know to be able to find the area would be A and B. So it's always like a side angle side situation when you do this, okay? So if you had angle B, so say that you knew, oh, B is missing up here. If you knew angle B, then you would need A and C as your sides. Okay, that one is down here. And then if we have angle A here, you would have to know B and C, okay? The other thing you can think of is if it's angle C, the sides you're gonna do are the 2 sides that aren't C. If you have angle A, the sides are gonna be B and C, not A. If you have B, it's gonna be A and C, okay? So if we look down here, they want us to find the area of this. And you can find the area of it if you have a side angle side situation. And what the formula is, you don't really have to write this down, but one thing that I don't know if I talked to you guys about yet, but in trig, a lot of times what they do, if this is angle A, they'll call this little a. If this is angle B, they'll call this little b. And if that's angle C, they'll call this little c. So the formula for this one would be 1/2 B times C times the sine of A. Now, do you have to write that formula down each time? Not really. What you need to be able to do this formula is two sides in the angle in between them. And you always go 1/2 times the two sides times the sine of the angle. So if I substituted in here, what I would do is I'd go 1/2 or 0.5. B is 6, C is 3, and then it would be sine of 25. So if I go to my calculator, okay, we'd go 0.5 times, times 6 times 3 times sine 25. And if you get a negative like this, that should tell you something is wrong with your calculator. And for me, it would be that it's not in the correct mode, okay? So this is probably the first time I've opened this one up, so I have to go and change it to degrees, and then I can go back and do that same thing. Did you guys get 3.80?
Yeah.
Okay. So your area would be 3.80, and area is in square units. Okay? So that would be the area of that triangle. Now if we go down to this one, again, when you are given, now in this one they're trying to confuse you, they're giving you all three angles. What you need is a side angle side situation. So which angle do you think you're going to use? C. This would be your side, this would be your angle, this would be your side. And that's what you would have to use because you don't know that side over there, so you can't do side angle side with the other two angles. So what we would do then, area would be 0.5. You'd multiply the two sides together, so 8 times 14 times the sine of our angle 36. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'd go 0.5 times 8 times 14 sine 36, enter. And it's 32.92. One question I had after the quiz on Friday was one person did not put a times in between the 14 and the sine, and one person did. It doesn't matter. You can do it either way. So if you go 14 sine 36, that's doing 14 times sine of 36, okay? If you want to put a time sign in between there, you certainly can, but you don't have to. So this, did you guys get 32.92? And that would be in centimeters squared. Okay. Now down here, notice they're giving us angle C, little a and little b, and that's how the formula is. If you're given angle C, you need little a and little b. So that's exactly what we would want to do there. So here I can just say area equals, you don't really have to write out the formula, but I will here. Okay, so we're gonna go 0.5 times 10 times 15 times sine of 55 And for that, 0.5 times 10 times 15 sine 55 is 61.44. And that's square meters. Okay. All right. Is that okay? Everybody understand that? All right. Now we're going to get into what the law of sines is for. So in a triangle that does not have a right angle, you can't use Pythagorean theorem. So if you were given two sides of it and you wanted to find the third side, if it does not have a right angle, you can't use Pythagorean theorem, okay? Also, sine is opposite over hypotenuse, and cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. But that's only if you have a right triangle, and today we're going to have triangles that are not right. So we're going to be using something called the law of sines. And we're going to be doing 2 out of the 3 of these proportions. It depends which ones we use of them, depending on what angles and sides we're given, okay? So we'll never have all 3, we'll only have 2. And what we're going to do is use that proportion to solve either for a missing side or a missing angle. Now, today we're learning something called law of sines, and then the next 3 days we're learning something called law of cosines. Law of sines works anytime you have an angle side situation. So do you guys remember when we learned like how to tell if triangles were congruent, and this was angle side? So let's say that they told you this was 30 degrees, this was 50 degrees, and this side was 17. That's angle side, and then you can use law of sines. The other way that you can use law of sines is if it's angle side angle, where the side is right in between the 2 angles. Okay, the side is right in between the 2 angles, you can use it then. So if you knew this was 30 and this was 50 and this was 17, again you can use law of sines, okay? Now, there is a third way. If you guys remember when we were trying to show triangles are congruent, I talked about a angle side triangle, and I said that that one doesn't work, which is true. But when you're doing law of sines, an angle side triangle does work for this. However, it's super confusing to do. And so what we do is we don't go over that in this class. You guys will do that when you take college trig. You'll do the angle side triangles, okay? The reason that we don't do them here is that when you have, of course they don't call it angle side, they call it side angle. When you have that situation, you can have 3 different answers. You can have one answer where it's a no solution. You can have one where it's one solution, or you can have one where 2 different triangles would work. And it's kind of intense, and so what I do in this is I just don't make you deal with that, and I let Mr. Ilias or Mr. Seifert deal with that. So we're gonna just do angle side and angle side angle, and in both of those cases we're gonna have one solution for the triangle. Okay, so let's go here, and now when they say solve each triangle, that means you're finding the 3 missing things again. So each of these problems are going to have 3 answers. So the first thing we'd have to find here is the measure of angle B, which that's going to be easy. And now instead of calling this side AC, what we're going to do is label our sides in these triangles. So across across from angle C is little c, across from angle A is little a, and across from angle B is little b. So that's what we're gonna do in all of these. And one of the things we don't know is we do not know little a, and we do not know little b. So again, these problems on a test would be 6 points, so just so you're aware. Now, how do we know what angles we're going to use to solve? First thing is, to do law of sines, you have to have a side and you have to know a side and its opposite angle. You have to know that. If you don't know a side and its opposite angle, you can't do law of sines, okay? So one of the things we're gonna use for sure in this question is we're gonna use sine of C over little c, okay? And that is because I know both the angle and its opposite side. Now I need to find little a and little b. And with law of sines, it doesn't matter which one you choose. So I'm going to do it in alphabetical order, and I'm going to find a first. But you don't have to do it that way, okay? So you always use the side and the angle and the opposite side that you know, and then you use whichever side or angle you're looking for, that's the other one that you do. Now I'm going to substitute in what I know, and this is going to be sine of C, which is 72, over little c, which is 375, equals sine of A, which is sine of 15, over little a, which is what I'm trying to find, okay? Now I'm actually going to go back up here, because one thing I did not do is I would generally in this problem find my missing angle first, because that's easy to do. Do you guys get, if I know these two angles, I can easily find that? What do? I add the two together, which you don't have to show the work for this, and then I subtract that from 180, and that's going to give me 93 degrees. So that one should be easy for everybody to do, okay? And I would generally find that first. Okay, now what we're going to do is cross products again. So we're going to do this. We're going to multiply these two, and I'm going to have sine of 72a. In this, it really doesn't matter if you put the a in front or behind it. Doesn't really matter. But when we do this, it does matter. Do you guys remember how we always want the whole number in front of the trig function? So I'm going to write this as 375 sine of 15. Okay? Now, what I would do in this one is I would kind of solve for a before I punch it into my calculator. And do you guys agree these are multiplied? So to solve, I would divide by sine of 72. Okay, and that would give me my a. But here's the thing. If you don't do what I say next, you get every one of these wrong. When you do this top thing, when you're typing in a trig function, parentheses are important, okay? And I'd rather hit enter on my calculator than worry about parentheses. So what I do every time I type this in is I type in the top, I hit enter on my calculator, and then I just do divide sine of 72. But you have to hit that enter. So let's go back to our calculator and let's type that in. So I'm going to go 375. You could go times sine of 15 or just sine of 15. But now we're going to hit enter. Then I'm going to divide by sine of 72 and I get 102.05. If at any time you get an error message, that means you punched something in wrong, okay? So our answer is 102 point, was it 05? Yeah. Okay, and now I can go back up here and put that right here. Right? Now I still have to find my little b, and I can't use Pythagorean theorem. You never can for the rest of this chapter because we're going to have triangles that are not right. Okay? So what I have to do then is this. I am going to use my sine of c over little c again. So I'm going to go sine of c over little c. But this time I want to find little b, so I'm going to go sine of b over little b. Okay? So sine of c again would be sine of 72. Little c is 375. Sine of b is what we're looking for here. Or no. Actually, I'm lying. Sine of b is 93. We found that. So we're going to put that in. So it's going to be sine of 93 over little b is what we're looking for. And then we're going to do the same thing with cross products. So we're going to multiply these two, and I have sine of 72b equals these two multiplied, 375 sine 93. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is solve for b. This is multiplied, so I'm going to divide by sine 72. Okay. And when I do this, I have to make sure to hit enter right here. Now, on these, I want to see some work. If you guys just give me the answers on these, I'm gonna take off a lot of points. I need to see some work on this. So let's go ahead and type this in. So we're gonna go 375 sine 93 entered, divide by sine 72. Did you guys get 393.76?
I did.
393.76, and that goes right here. Now, one thing I can tell you guys too is once you're done, you could put your answer in on this diagram and kind of check it out. Now, first of all, and A was 102. First of all, as I was grading your tests this weekend, one of the things I noticed is like kids would have a problem where maybe one side was in the 300s, one was in the 100s, and then a side would be in the 24,000s. That wouldn't be right, right? They should all be kind of close together, okay? Another thing that's true in these triangles is your largest side is across your largest angle. So 93 is my biggest angle, so that means this side should be bigger than those two. This is my smallest angle, and your smallest side should be across your smallest angle. If you were on a test and you checked that and those weren't the case, that means you did something wrong, okay? But this is our answer. Okay, now let's go to this one. This one is a little bit different in that this one is a side angle side, okay? First thing I'm gonna do over here is I'm gonna write down what it is that I need to know. Aubrey, here you go. All right, so what it is I need to know. I need to know the measure of angle C. Then across from angle C is little c, across from angle A is little a, across from angle B is little b, okay? So I need to know the measure of angle C. I need to know little a, and I need to know little b. Okay? Now, to use law of sines, you need a angle and its opposite side. You need to know both of. And in this one, when you look, we don't know that. But could I figure something out so I could? Yeah. Can I find angle C?
Yep.
Yes. So I can add 37 plus 75, which is 112. And I can go 180 minus 112, which is 68, and write that in here. And then that is also my answer over here. Okay? Now I'll say that again. To do law of sines, you need an angle and its opposite side. And in this one, again, it's C. It just happens to be that way. It's not always that way. So I have sine of C and little c. I know both of. Then I decide which I want to find, A or B. I'm going to do A. So I'm going to go sine of A over little a. Then I'm going to plug in what I know. Sine of C is sine of 68. Little a is 22. Sine of A is sine of 37. And little a we're looking for. And then I'm going to do cross products, okay? So I'm going to multiply here, and I get sine 68a equals, then I'm going to multiply here, 22 sine of 37. Now, that's sine of 68 times a, so we're going to divide by sine of 68. And then the big thing on this is to know that you have to hit enter before you divide by sine 68. So we're going to punch in 22 sine 37, enter, divide by sine 68. And did you guys get 14.28? Okay. And that is little a up here. And then what I'm going to do is find b. So again, I generally would stick with c because I have them marked on here. So I'm going to go sine of c over c because I know those. And this time I want to find little b, so I go sine of b over side b. Then I plug in, so I'd go sine of 68 over 22 equals sine of 75 over little b that I'm trying to find. Multiply this and I get b sine 68 equals 22 sine of 75, okay? This is multiplied, so I'm going to divide. And then you just have to realize, again, that when you do this, that you hit enter before you divide. So if I go to my calculator, and type that in, 22 sine 75, enter, divide by sine 68. It is 22.92. Is little b. And then we can go up here, 22.92. I can put that over here. You don't have to do this, but you can check. And again, your biggest side should be across your biggest angle. Your littlest side should be across your littlest angle. And you have to show some work. If you have no work, I'm not going to give you much credit. Now, this one, you if you struggle, like what I would tell you guys to do if they give you this is just sketch it out, okay? Just go A, B, C, little a is 12, and they give you that this is 56 and this is 38, and you want to find little b and little c as well as angle C. So just sketch it out, and then you're going to be right back to where you would have, okay? And then the last thing, we don't have to do this problem, but I just need to explain it. So what they'll do sometimes is instead of giving you A, B, and C, they'll give you different vertices. So in this one, they give us N, P, and Q. So if we put that in, this is 42, this is 65, and they give us little n. Little n is across from angle N, little p is across from angle P, little q is across from this, okay? Would you guys know in this one what you have to do first?
Right over.
So do you agree you're gonna find the measure of angle N and little p and little q? And to do that, don't I have to find N first, right? And then does that confuse you? Like, once we found this, I think it's 73, do you guys get that you would just go like sine of, oh, we know little n is 5. Would you get that you could go sine of n over little n equals sine of q over little q? Everybody understand that?
Yeah.
All right. So your assignment for today is a worksheet, which I'm hoping is in Schoology. Let me check with you guys here. It is? Okay.
Skill 8-6 skills practice, the law of sines, the sine plus 3 and 11.
And then be like, okay.
Yes, so it's 2 sides. Do the problems that are written in my writing, okay?